Hi, welcome back to the land of Kakiak. My name is Laurel and I educate my 3 boys at home using the Robinson curriculum as the base of our education. And today I want to talk to you about my spelling boot camp. Ta-da! This is something I made. This is free. I will link it for you in the description. What you need to go with it that's not free is the spelling flashcards. These are $5. They're printable, right? So you can print as many sets for as many students as you need. And I just thought I would go through the spelling boot camp with you, and there's 2 ways that I intended for it to be used, and I just thought we could go through some components of that now. Okay, so I printed mine out and bound it and made it so it's like book style. So I'm gonna go ahead and point the camera down so you can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so this is the document, Spelling Bootcamp. I just comb bound mine, but it could easily be kept in a binder or something. On the first page, you're going to see I have 2 options on how this can be used. One would be as a pre-spelling program bootcamp. That's how I'm currently using it for both review and new spelling patterns. I think I may just do this every year before we start a new spelling, packet year. And the other way is as an assessment and targeted practice tool. I do have assessments, let's see there in the back, that come with it. Okay, so this one is for the spelling rules, and that is part of, that's what this is built around. The boot camp is built around the spelling rules. So this is your key. So this has all the rules, all the words you're going to dictate to them. And then they have, this is their test page, right? And then you just check it. And this tells you what rule is associated with these words. And then this is the lesson in the boot camp that covers it. So you can just use that. I did try to make assessments for all the phonemes as well. And then I gave, let me see, I'll find one here. Alpha phonics lessons that corresponded to those phonemes. Now, Alpha phonics didn't have every single phoneme that I tested for, but Alpha phonics, and I linked all these things that you can get, for free. It's just something that a lot of people use and swear by, so I think it's a good resource, and you can get it. It's also in the, if you're an RC member, in the library, you can print it out from there. But I have it listed in here, free, down here. These are the hard copies, workbook and manual for them, and these are the free to print versions. So, the free Alpha Phonics phonogram cards, they look like this. So I give my kids their assessment for their spelling rules, and then I just go through these free Alpha Phonics. This is the most economical way to do it when you have multiple students. Just print them out on cardstock, give each kid their own pile, and then we just did right pile, wrong pile. I gave him a test the first day. So this is for my 2nd grader. This is his right pile, right? So I just put that to the side, and now we have a wrong pile. So it's just a quick note on how to use these. I went ahead and just wrote how many sounds are associated with each phonogram. So we have this, the double O, and it has 4. So the very first few times we go through these, I coach them on this technique. So they cover it up, right? We say double O, and they hold up their little 4 fingers, and we would say, ooh, oh, right? And if they didn't know all of them, then they can look and figure it out, right? And I can help them pronounce it and kind of coach them on what the sounds are, because one's like good, right, is very hard to distinguish from the in blood. Good, blood. One's more like one's you know what I mean? Give them some coaching. Anyways, and then if anything, I kind of disagree with them, or I thought there was, I thought SC also could say S. They had a couple in here, like TU, they just said it says ch, but I say it also says sh, right? So I wrote that on there. So anyways, you can make your own notes on there if you think that the phonograms made a few more phonemes like I did, then go ahead and put that on there, and you'll see how we use these. A spelling notebook. What does that look like? That looks like, I'm opening up my son's spelling folder, this. And I just got these on Amazon, and I just put some tabbies. So they're taking spelling notes as they go through the lesson. And then I'm also having him use it for grammar notes. I just, kind of perfectly comes in half like that. So he's doing his grammar notes that we do that side and his spelling notes. We're doing it up here. And I think when we've gone all the way through the boot camp, through all the lessons, I'll probably add another tab that says spelling rules. And I'm going to actually have them, because we don't necessarily do the rules in order. So the spelling rules, then I'll have them write them in order. So then we can use this as a quick reference if we need to when we go back to our regular spelling program. All right, and Splendid Spelling. This is the hard copy order from Amazon. This is the free to print from Sherry Hayes over at Mom Delights. And she just puts out so much good stuff and just blesses the homeschool community. This is Splendid Spelling. That's this. This is what I use for their independent activity practice most of the time. There was some other assignments you'll see, but that's what that is, and that's listed here. And then of course the spelling rules and terms flashcards. So yeah, I got 2 kids, so I've got 2 sets right now. That's these, and these are, there's only like $5, and you can print as many sets as you need, right? So I made these. These are a mix between the logic of English and spell to write and read. And I did number them so that they would match up with spell to write and read if that was a program that you used. I mean, obviously they don't look like their flashcards. They have their own flashcards. But you could, they're the same general rule if you needed to. Because I noticed that you cannot buy those right now. Like, they're out of stock. Don't know when they're going to be available again. I don't know what's going on with that program, but I know a lot of people love it. And this is a really cheap alternative. You could get some cards that would work with it until, they get their stuff back out there. I don't know what's going on with them. So they're going to have this, and this is what you are also going to teach off of. Okay, so those are all the materials that you'll need to kind of gather up, and everything is just a matter of printing. And then, I give you this, right? I give you the syllable types and the syllable division patterns here. And in one of the lessons, I do give you some simple, I think 4 or 5 steps to dividing syllables. If you want to go really deep into syllable division, I will link a Teachers Pay Teachers resource by, I think her store is called The Primary Pond, or Primary Learning at the Primary Pond. I think that's what it is. And we did that as a unit earlier this year, and we really learned a lot about dividing syllables. And it does help you because you're just repeatedly doing it. But that's kind of what you're going to end up doing here. We're going to teach you how to divide syllables. You're going to start practicing it in here. But for us, because in our spelling packets, in our spelling program, the McGuffey spelling packets, which you really could use with any words, any word list. It's just activities. I just happen to use the McGuffey ones. This program goes into having the kids divide things by syllable, so they'll get a lot of practice. So I wanted to make sure that we practice syllable division in our boot camp, since it's something I expect them to be able to do. I like them to be able to take the word apart, and put it back together and understand, because some of our spelling rules have to do with the syllables. So if you really want them to be good at spelling, they do need to understand syllables. Okay, so the basic layout of the boot camp, it'll be a lesson. Let's look at lesson 1. There's nothing really to review, really. This is just lesson 1 or day 1. Anything in red is a term that you're going to define that has a flashcard that goes with it. So this is what I say is board work, things that I do on the chalkboard for them. So I'd write out definitions on the chalkboard, and they're going to start copying them right into that notebook. And then I've got examples. Those will end up on the board eventually, right? All that stuff gets copied into notebooks. And then notes. These are more notes for their notebook, right? And then I like to give some kind of independent activity. So this is stuff we're doing together. And then they've got independent time. So after that, you're going to have a little review area up here every day. It says phonogram, wrong pile. So they're going to go through their wrong pile, right? In the beginning, you can help them with it, but then you want to try to get them to be able to do it themselves. Of course, if they're really young, you may just be doing it with them the whole time and they're just echoing. You may just be saying the name of the phonogram and then just telling them all the sounds and having them echo back to you every single day. And that's fine too. I mean, kids are at different levels and you want them all to be able to participate. All right, spelling flashcards thus far. So then I have them, oh yeah, they're in their little spelling book. I just have them clip their cards in that we've already gone over. And then they just go over, they reread them. And I have my kids read them out loud to themselves, right? They're just gonna go through and read all the terms. And then the rules. We start out with more terms, right? But then we start getting to rules, right? Just to refresh their memory of everything we've gone over so far. And then we get into that day's focus. Right, which they'll be working on in their notebook. So I'm working on the big board because I want them to be able to see everything up there on the big chalkboard. You could be working maybe on a piece of paper or whiteboard or something, whatever you have, so that they can see. And then I don't like to give them the example words yet because, you know, I don't give them the flashcard right away. I don't give them the flashcard till we're done with the lesson, actually, because there's things on it I don't want them to see yet. So like there's always example words on the flashcards. So I would write out, and I left lots of room on here for you to personalize or add things into your lesson as you see fit. So I wanted there to be a lot of blank space here for you to write. So I'm gonna write down the rule, and then I do a lot of slate work with them. So I just got these ones from Walmart. I think they were like $2 a piece, but maybe even the Dollar Tree might have something like this. But this is great, and they think this is really fun. And I'll dictate a word and have them try to spell it, right? So maybe it's water. Maybe they spelled it like that, right? So I'd have everyone write how they think it's spelled, and if they know it, great. If they don't, and this is kind of the level that my kids are at. You might start them out leading them a little bit more through it, but I do maybe say they did it wrong. We'll say, well, nope, that's not it. Because if they know it, they know it. It's not really that helpful to practice it. You know, keep going until you find ones they don't. Let's say they didn't. We'll say water, right? This is kind of like think to spell, right? Water. Let's count how many sounds we hear. W-a-t-er. We heard 4 sounds. W-a-t-er, right? So then we'd go one by one. What's the first sound? Try to isolate the sounds and try to get them to make the sound, not you. So they say woo. I'm like, okay, what phonogram represents w, W, ah, and then they say o again. You're like, nope. What's another one? Because maybe we're learning that rule. Because this might be a follow-up word to the rule that an A that follows a W is broad. It says ah. Like, what's our rule say? You might have them reread the rule, and they're like, oh, it's an A, because they know A can say ah. You're like, yes. Then t. And what says right? And they say ER. Right? And that's one sound, right? Okay, good. Yes, you got it. So then you can do more practice on there. Like you can say, can you circle the vowels that you hear, right? Because we want to go off the ones we hear because there are silent vowels, right? Like lots of silent E's. You don't want to circle those. Those don't count. And then maybe you want them to do the diacritical marks. Well, we know the umlaut over the A. And ER just always says so it doesn't have a mark. Okay, it's good. And then maybe later on, you have words you want them to divide, right? So you'd say, okay, I'll go through it. This is a quick lesson on how to divide syllables. Let's see, you have the word water. So you do circle the vowels first, right? You don't separate, pairs or whatever, vowel teams and stuff like that. So you're going to lay a vowel, and then you're going to connect them with a bracket like that. And then you're going to label whatever is the consonants in between. Remember, like digraphs, like TH, that counts as one consonant, not two. It's not T and H, right? So then if you don't know how to do that, it tells you. So you can go to the syllable division patterns, and this is a VCV. Like you can look for VCV, right? And you usually, if the first vowel is a long sound, you divide before the consonant, such as in lady, it's a long A. I don't think it's considered long. I think it's considered short. It's like what. So there could be a VCV close. That's just cab in. And then you would divide between the consonant and the second vowel. So if I'm like, I think that's it. Wat-er. Or is it wa-ter? Is it wat-er or wa-ter? This might be a weird one because if it's that broad A. This might be a good time to you're like, is it here or is it here? You might have to get out your dictionary and just check to see how it's divided. Another resource, I didn't put it on the resource list because I don't think you absolutely had to have it necessarily for this program, but it is the Alpha List. And this is the Spell to Write to Read, and they are focusing on words from the logic of English, right? So like my favorite resources. And it's all these words, and they have gone through and they have marked them for you and told you what rule, which will correspond with pretty much with my cards too that I made. I made it so that I could use it with this actually. So let me see if they have the word water. I mean, this is something that I would do more towards the end of the program. We might go through a list of words. And okay, water. See, they divided the syllable. They say it's between the first vowel and the T. And they say A is making the third sound of A, which is that ah sound, and the ER. And they say rule 28 applies to that one. So they say it should be not here, but here. So we learned something, right? But I think we kind of know that by ear, though. We knew that it wasn't water, it's water, right? Anyways, so back to today, we're in some spelling lesson now. You've done stuff, you've dictated to them, you've checked their spelling, you've gone through all the examples, and they get to write those examples in their notebook. Make sure everything's copied on the board. And then you give them some kind of activity to do on their own, independent activity. So, I tried to match up Sherry's activities with my lesson. So we'd go through our lesson, make sure everybody understands what we're doing, and then get some more practice on their own, and then you can check that to make sure it makes sense. And I like that she calls her rules secrets, and they're worded. It's basically the same information. I mean, the spelling rules are the spelling rules, right? But people just kind of label them in different ways, right? But or word them differently. And I think that's kind of helpful for them to read it two different ways. How it looks on their flashcard, and then how it looks the secret, or like whatever the spelling rule in Splendid Spelling, and see that it's really the same information. I think that helps them. I don't know. I just think that helps them understand better to see the same information differently. You know what I mean? And feel free to add in your own exercises, or if you want them to do something in their notebook, do it there. But anyways, this goes through 34 lessons, and not everything is a rule or a flashcard. There are some things I just thought I needed to cover, like syllable types and division patterns, and I have those provided sheets and just kind of go over those, and you could have them copy those in their book. Then some dictation, and then having them divide the syllables. They could do that together, and marking with diacritical marks. You're going to practice that stuff, and this will just really build up their spelling lexicon, their familiarity with diacritical marks. And not every program or every book or whatever marks things exactly the same way. So some of it might be new to them, some of them might seem before. And I'm not saying that like the way I do it is 100% the right way to do it. I don't know that there really is a wrong way to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll show you something I was doing with my kids. So I would just say anything, however you guys decide to do your diacritical marks. There's some that are pretty across the board, like the Macron and the Breve and stuff. And something I took from How to Write and Read, or Spell to Write and Read, I think partly because it's just easier to type, right? So you could say, whenever you see something in the slanted, right, that means sounds like. I mean, that's pretty common across the board. It sounds like, you could say A, right? You could A, and you could put the macron. And people know that sounds like a long A. Well, in spell to read, they don't do that. They say sounds like, when they have a long vowel, they just make it uppercase. Right? So I guess sound like you, or sounds like you. Right? Both of these are correct. Just pick one, probably, you know. I actually tend to like to do the diacritical mark, but when I did my flashcards, I did the uppercase because I just couldn't, the font I was using didn't have all the diacritical marks. So I was like, well, I'll just use it the way they did it. I was like, that's probably why they did it too. Anyways, okay, so here's something like that we do. Today I did dictate the word sage, right? So we got everyone, we talked through all this stuff, and then we were marking it, right? So it's a long A. So this is a sh, right? Silent E. Oh, I do a slash. And this was a J, a soft G. See, in this soft G, I steal that. That's from McGuffey. He does that. But then I had them do, so it's a bossy E here, right? It's affecting the A to make it long, and it's softening this G here. So I like them to do the arrows when some people call this a magic E, right? Magic E, silent E is influencing letters around it. Like that's just how, so just however you do it is fine, right? And you just do it enough times. You just keep practicing it as you're going through the boot camp. You're just, all your example words, and I lead you in here. I give you guidance to mark stuff all along the way. And just however you do it, just stick to it. Okay, so yeah, when we get all the way through this, I'm just going to take us back into our normal spelling program, right? But we'll have a whole spelling notes and spelling rules list notebook, and we'll have flashcards, which I think will be helpful when we want to sort. I'm thinking because sometimes one of the activities is to sort words into their patterns or rules. And I have the kids, we have flashcards for all of our spelling words, you know. So like, which in this, just so you know, we keep them back here. We paused on lesson 12 for William, right? So, and I have 2 of each word so we can play memory, but this will be helpful. So maybe instead of like, you could, before you finalize or write one of our assignments, let's say there was whatever rules there are in the word groups. There are several rules, and you could sort them, right? Into, you know, whatever rules they're in, right? You could do, and this might be something that's helpful to do with them, because then when they're wrong, you can just like help them move them around, and then they can write it in on that day's activity. This might be kind of a helpful tool, I think, for organizing things, words into patterns. Okay, so then we'll be all set up as a good springboard, and that's my spelling boot camp. What do you think? All right, well, if you guys have any questions about it, if I forgot anything, or if you've already downloaded your free boot camp and already kind of started going, and you have any questions on it, or anything I can improve, every once in a while I catch an error I make in there, and I go in and I correct it and I re-upload it. If you've already got it, I mean, you can always just go in and re-download it. But yeah, if you notice anything, let me know. Otherwise, happy homeschooling.